வணக்கம் அண்ட் வெல்கம் யூசி தமிழ். நாங்கள் நோவா ஸ்கோட்டியா சென்றபோது சிட்டியை சுற்றி பார்ப்பதற்காக காவர் கூப்பர் என்னும் வாகனத்தில் சென்றோம். இந்த வாகனத்தில் தரை வழியாகவும் கடல் மார்க்கமாகவும் அந்த சிட்டியை சுற்றி காட்டுவார்கள். இதை பார்ப்பதற்கு மிகவும் அழகாக இருந்தது. இந்த வீடியோவில் தரை மார்க்கமாக சுற்றி பார்ப்பதை இப்போது பார்க்கலாம். இதன் பிறகு அடுத்த வீடியோவில் கடல் மார்க்கமாக சுற்றி பார்ப்பதையும் பார்க்கலாம். என்னோடு சேர்ந்து இந்த வீடியோவை நீங்களும் பாருங்கள். இதில் செல்வதற்கான டிக்கெட் ஆன்லைனில் புக் பண்ண வேண்டும். அதற்கான லிங்கையும் நான் டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷனில் கொடுக்கின்றேன், நீங்களும் பார்க்கலாம். இதில் செல்லும்போது இந்த சிட்டி பற்றிய எல்லா தகவல்களையும் அவர்கள் தெரியப்படுத்துவார்கள்.
Guide and first mate. We just want to go through a few safety things before we hit the road here. So first of all, the Harbour Hopper is 10.5 feet wide and the streets in Halifax are only 10 feet wide. We're going to get close to everything. Trees coming back into the parking lot. You find 4 folks on the top deck. Keep an eye out for them so you don't have an eye out after them. Yeah, they get a little close. Trucks, signs, everything on the street. We're going to get pretty close to all that. There's also a lot of construction, a lot of potholes. And I say that one specifically to remind you that it's not my fault, it's the asphalt. Thank you guys. Yeah, it's a little bouncy. The tide is going out. It's low tide, actually 10 minutes ago specifically. So yeah, it is going to be a little rough going in and out of the harbour, even going over the curb to get to the ramp. So I do take it pretty easy at low tide, but still just hold on to the rail, hold on to the seat in front of you and stuff. We have quite a few little ones on board too, so just want to make sure they are nice and secure. Specifically with the little ones, when they rest their chins on the rail, it does hurt a little if we hit a bump, so just keep that one in mind as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Anna.
Lovely. Also, we will eventually get into the harbour, so for a few water safety things on board, of course we do have life jackets for everyone on board. The little ones, I have child-sized ones tucked in along the side, but for everyone else, the adult sizes are under your seats. We do not need to wear them. However, if you did have to wear them, it's pretty simple, as Nick is going to demonstrate for us. So they simply slip over your head here. There are 2 sets of straps. The smaller ones get tied a few times under your chin. The longer ones, they go around your back, come around to the front, and they get tied on your stomach. On your stomach, not on top of the life jacket. This keeps the water underneath the life jacket and keeps you afloat, which is how we want to have it. Yeah. Lovely. So yes, we do not have to wear them. If you had to wear them, it'll be really obvious, or I will tell you. But please, let's just keep them in where they are. A few other things. I have 2 life rings, one on either side of the vessel. If you see anyone in the harbour, from personal experience, I can tell you that they do not want to be there. It is cold all year round in that harbour. So it's very cold. It would be very refreshing for 2 seconds, and then you're going to deeply regret that one. Anyways, if you see anyone in the harbour, otherwise, please throw them a life ring. We will pull them on board and they're going to get half a free tour. So that's one way to get your tickets, folks. Yeah. Last thing though, I do have kind of a marshmallow looking thing in the very back. That is actually my 45-person inflatable life raft. If the Harbour Hopper was to go down for some unknown reason, we're just going to crawl inside that and continue the tour like nothing ever happened. It's going to be really fun. If you believe it's fun, it becomes fun, folks. But we're going to skip the life raft thing. Anyways, that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over the mic and you folks enjoy the tour. I'll see you all in an hour.
I love it. Enthusiasm, I love it. With the price of diesel, enthusiasm is a way more cheaper option. So guys, welcome to the Harbour. Yes, Chris, welcome to the Harbour Hopper. My name is Nick. I will be your tour guide for today. A little thing about myself. I am not from Halifax here. I'm from Prince Edward Island. Who here is from PEI? Okay, good thing. None of my relatives are on this boat. That is a PEI joke because it's a very small place to live. Everyone knows everyone. So I've lived here for the past 4 years. I am a university student finishing up my undergrad in Canadian history with a minor in English and film studies. Don't tell my parents I'm studying film studies. And again, guys, a little thing about myself. I have a cat named Tig, who I got to during the first wave of COVID, because I finally realized why Tom Hanks befriended all those volleyballs in Castaway. That's very lonely. So you guys know about me, I want to know about you guys. Who here's coming from outside North America? Woo, where are you guys coming from? India, welcome, welcome. Anyone coming from the United States? Woo, all right, people in the back, where are you guys coming from? South Carolina. Anyone coming from British Columbia? What about Alberta? Alberta, welcome. I used to live there. It is a lovely place to live. I used to live in Banff, which is a really lovely place. What about Saskatchewan? Any fellow Saskatchewans here? No? All right, that's definitely okay. What about Manitoba? Anyone here from Manitoba? Rough crowd, no one here from Manitoba. What about Ontario? Oh, wow, everyone here from Ontario. I love it. You guys are not going to like my Maple Leaf jokes I'm going to make here in a couple minutes. So, oh, I'm so sorry. You know what, I'm a Sens fan, man, so it's all good. Anyone here coming from Quebec? No, Quebec, okay. What about New Brunswick? New Brunswick?
You're the only one, right?
No, for PEI actually. Oh no, someone wasn't lit. I'm just joking. What about Newfoundland and Labrador? Any Newfies on board? No Newfies on board. What about PEI? You guys are listening because I'm the only one here from PEI. Anyone from the territories? You know what? It's very expensive to get here from the territories. I used to live there, and it's about $800 for a one-way ticket, so I can definitely understand. So, guys, you guys know where you guys know. I know what you guys are about, and you guys know what I'm about. So let me talk to you guys about the vehicle itself. This is a Lark 5. Who here is a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs? One person laughing. Guys, a cool fact about this vehicle, this is as old as the last time the Leafs won the Stanley Cup. Oh, I'm so sorry. You'll get into the first round eventually.
If you live long enough.
You live long enough, right? Yeah. The Cubs lasted 108 years. You guys can last another 70, right? I'm just joking. You guys are going to win it next year. Oh my God, what have I done? So guys, Alert 5, this stands for Lighter Amphibious Resupply Cargo, and the 5 stands for 5 tons. That's how much it can carry. It was made for the Vietnam War. It was made for the Vietnam War, and again, 900 of these vehicles were made for about 900 million. So you can say to yourself and your friends and family that you are riding around in a $1 million vehicle. So you can say you're driving around in high class. High society, as I like to call it. So guys, we've since removed the guns in the back, and we put in seating and we painted it green, and instead, guys, it's a more family-friendly vehicle. Happy Canada Day! So guys, who here is visiting Halifax for the very first time? People visiting Halifax, welcome guys. A lovely city here. I do want to point out, guys, our history in Halifax, especially Canada, is very dark. But I do want to lighten up this tour a little bit. So guys, I do want to point out we are living in unceded and we are currently in unceded and unsurrendered Mi'kmaq territory. And Halifax here, guys, was settled in 1749 by Edward Cornwallis, who not a very nice man, but again, we'll keep it really light. It does get a little bumpy, a little shock value for you, I guess. It did shock me. Gotta hold on tight. So guys, Halifax here, guys, lovely city, settled here in 1749. And again, this area here was kind of made for a fort so they could protect their other assets here in Nova Scotia. And they didn't even realize that it was going to be the capital of Nova Scotia at the time. It was just more of a military fort because it had access to the harbor and had access to all the other sorts of stuff. A cool fact about Halifax itself, guys, it has the second most bars and pubs per capita in all of Canada. Alcohol, am I right? Woo! All right. So it has the most bars and pubs, second most per capita in all of Canada. Can anyone guess what number 1 is? St. John's. Who here has been to Newfoundland before? Yeah. If you've ever been to Newfoundland, there's an entire street of George Street that is just filled with pubs and bars. So that beats it. Alright, so guys, we're coming up here to Halifax here, coming very shortly here on your right, I would point it out. You see this lovely church here. Cool fact about that church, it is the first Protestant church in all of North America, built here 1750. I will point it out when we're kind of hitting the green light here. Again, we do have a lot of traffic here in Halifax, especially on a long weekend. So before we get to the church as well, I want to point out Mary's African Cuisine. It has a really great spot, and if you're gluten-free like me and the captain here, it is a really good gluten-free option. And it kind of has a rich history. That building itself, it's been around for a while, and some local history that I actually know the owner. He teaches history. Him and his wife co-run that building, that restaurant. Yeah, so he teaches me a lot of history throughout, like African history, and as well Canadian and all over history, which is really cool. I guess the cool fact, I'm going to return to the church here, is the church itself, like again, one of the oldest Protestant church in all of North America. The church itself has a permanent seat for the Queen Elizabeth II. She has taken the seat 5 times. The last time she took that seat was in 1978. That's the last time she's come here in Halifax. Hello! Come here in Halifax. As well, guys, a really lovely spot and survived during the Halifax explosion. And that seat, like I said, for the Queen, no one has sat in it since 1978, so don't even try it. Because we have our convention center here on the left here. Convention center here on the left. And it has been recently built since 2018. It was built to replace the old one, and that is now, the old one is now where this hour is 22 minutes. It's filming now. On your left here, Rogers Square, really good spot to watch sports games. I watched the Toronto Raptors win the championship there with about 700 different people. Go Raps. You know what? I joke about the Maple Leafs. I'm a big Raptors fan, so it's all good. So guys, we're coming up to the Ale House on your right here. Cool fact about the Ale House itself is that before it was the Ale House, it's a bar now. Before it was a bar, it was a theater, and before it was a theater, it was a church. So as you can tell from the windows there, and it is very so it used to be a church, now it's a bar where people can drink there till 3 a.m. Don't ask me why I know those hours, I just do.
Are you sure you didn't drink there?
I'm a university student, come on. A little suspicious? Okay. So guys, we're coming up on Brunswick Street. And the cool fact of Brunswick Street, this used to be known as Knockin' Down Street, where this is where all the crime used to happen when Halifax was first settled. And a cool fact about that, guys, this is where the barracks used to sit, where all the military men would sleep and would live when they were here on the fort of Citadel Hill. Hey guys, a cool fact, guys, this building here on your left is a pretty cool building. It's the Halifax Academy, one of the oldest Nova Scotia schools out there, and is now the film school. And guys, we're coming up to Citadel Hill. Citadel Hill here, a really cool spot, guys. One of the second most visited heritage site in all of Canada. Number 1, of course, is Ottawa's Parliament Hill. Who here's from Ottawa? No one? Ottawa? Okay, you know what? It's a government town, they're all busy, it's okay. And guys, a really cool spot, it's a really cool spot to just sit and just sit down. You can have a date there, you can have a picnic, you read a book. I sometimes read a book and just take a nap when it's a really hot day and I just want some shade and just want to sit outside. A really great spot here, guys. Like I said, guys, you can have a complete view of the harbor, and it's just a really great spot to sit. On your right here, guys, we have this clock tower. This clock tower was commissioned in 1790 by Prince Edward because people living in the barracks would always arrive late for work, so they no longer had an excuse why they were late, because this clock tower is here. This clock tower has to be winded twice a week, and it is still an active clock tower, which is really cool. It's been restored. It was restored about 32 years ago, and it has since been working ever since. Really cool spot, and also survived the Halifax explosion. We're coming up to Fort George here. Fort George is a really cool spot, and it's just this fort was built in 1749, decommissioned in 1901, then given to the Canadian government. And this all used to be a wooden fort, and like I said, and they've since built stone after that, because wood does rot. As well, this waterless boat I like to call the Pit of Death on your left is that a cool fact, when they were building the fort, they wanted this pit there because people in the harbor would not be able to see it if they were invading. They would be stuck in that boat and fall in. I just like to say the British probably just asked them to leave. I hope so. So guys, we have it's an 8-sided fort, which is really cool. And before all these fancy buildings were here, you can have a complete view of Halifax itself. And you're probably wondering, has Fort George ever been invaded? And technically, it's been invaded once. In 2003, there was a woman who decided to put down the Union Jack flag and put up her own flag of a martini glass. So that's the only time that Halifax the Citadel Hill has been invaded. So guys, a cool fact here on your right here, we have Citadel High, which is really cool because who here has seen Mr. D? Mr. D on CBC, that is where they filmed that show in the summers when the school wasn't being used.
You're gonna fall down.
And you guys, we have the Union Jack flag right over here, right here in front of me on your left. And as you can see, that is where the woman that decided to take down the Union Jack flag and put up her own glass of martini glass. And as you can see from the left as well, you have kind of masses, kind of like a ship inside the fort. That is where the masses, when in the 1800s, when merchant ships were coming to unload cargo, the Citadel Hill would put up that flag so different merchant ships, other different merchant companies can go and unload all of that cargo. So guys, on your right, where people are having a picnic here, they're reading a book, and a kite. I've never seen that in a while. That's awesome. And this is a good amphitheater. I have seen concerts from the Tragically Hip, AC/DC, Rolling Stones, the Jonas Brothers, Kanye West, the Backstreet Boys. Don't ask me why, but the Backstreet Boys. I grew up with 2 older sisters. It's definitely okay. Yeah, Backstreet Boys, yes. Tell me why, tell me why. Really great spot, and it's just a really good spot. This a really good spot to sled in the winter. I wouldn't sled towards over here because you'd hit the traffic, and that's very dangerous. And guys, way past, on your right, way past all of those buildings, way past those cranes, there's a park called Point Pleasant Park. Really great park. It has hiking trails. It has people surf there. There's some surf waves there. And it's a really great spot to just relax. I go there after every final exam. I go there and just relax and meditate after my final exams because I say to myself, what did I just write? Hey guys, we're coming up here, We're coming up here. Point Pleasant Park as well is that we rented from the British government for 1 shilling per year. It's a 999-year lease, and it's a pretty ironclad lease. They cannot get out of it. Yes, behind us here, we're leaving Citadel Hill, and it's been very hard for people invading from the harbor to be able to see that pit of death or that waterless moat. Very hard for them to see that. Coming up right behind me is Royal Artillery Park, one of the oldest military messes in North America and one of the oldest military libraries in Canada. The military library has been that is my water bottle, no need to panic. It's all good. I know, right? It's all good. And guys, Royal Artillery Park is really cool. The oldest military library stands from 1818. That's when it opened, and those books date back to 1810. Really cool as well. Again, guys, they're renovating right now, and they have different cannons from the 1800s to modern day there for showing off. It's under renovation right now, so it'll be very hard to get in. As we're way past the Royal Tulip Park, you guys will be able to see this this house here, this kind of gray house, and it is the only 5-sided house in all of Halifax. It was built by a military man here, right here on your left. It was made by a military man who got land from the government, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna build this. No one can stop me. Just a heads up, in about 20 seconds, people in the back, just watch out. There's gonna be some trees that might hit you, so just a warning. Yeah, just knock down a little bit. You're fine. Hey guys, we're coming up to Halifax Public Gardens here. We're good. Alright, we're coming to Halifax Public Gardens. Is a Victorian-style garden. A Victorian-style garden needs more than 2 types of trees. Lucky for the Halifax Public Garden, it has over 200 of them. So lots of options here. Again, we're hitting the public gardens here, and we're hitting the public gardens here, guys. A lovely spot to just sit and read a book or just walk around. Really cool spot if you have time. Coming up here on your right, and there's sidewalks here. So back in the 1800s when it was built, it needed for 2 women comfortably walking around in skirts, those old-fashioned big skirts. I like to say it was made for COVID because 2 people can comfortably socially distance walk. Really weird time. I made a lot of bread whenever I was locked down, and none of it was good. I had a KitchenAid. I haven't used it in a year. You got a couple laughs. I love it. I love it. So guys, the public garden, it has a pond there you can walk around. It has a model of the Titanic. It also has a model of the HMCS Sackville, which when we get in the harbor, you guys will be able to see. A really cool fact, guys, as well, is that these front gates here were not made for the public gardens here in Halifax. They were made for a public garden in Scotland that went bankrupt. Don't ask me why or how a public garden goes bankrupt, but it just does. And those front gates over here on your left here, those front gates are only open if a member of the royal family ever visit Halifax. The last time those gates were open was when Princess Diana visited here in 1994. Which is, yeah, that's the last time those gates were open. So if those gates ever open, it's a member of the royal family is in the city. Guys, we're coming up to Spring Garden Road. It's very busy today on Spring Garden Road. One of the busiest streets east of Montreal and north of Boston. Really great spot here, guys. This is all commercial use for stores, pubs, bars, malls. But now, it used to be all residential homes, which is really cool. Hey guys, I want everyone here on your left, I want everyone to wave to Smokey here. Very famous Haligonian here who loves the Harbour Hopper. How's it going, Smokey? Awesome. Alright, so guys, we're coming up to Jennifer's of Nova Scotia here on your left here is a really great spot. If you really want a souvenir made right here in Halifax, right here in Nova Scotia, it's all handmade crafts. And like again, you can get a gift for your family or friends, a relative, stuff like that. It's really great spot. It's just right here on your left. As well, guys, we're coming up here. This, as I mentioned earlier, this all used to be residential homes. There's one residential home left right here on your left. That is what all the houses used to look like. So we had a little bit of the history left here on Spring Garden, and as well, when all the commercial use started getting building here, there used to be a tram service that used to go all the way to Lower Water Street, all the way through Spring Garden, all the way to Quinpool to the north end of Halifax. We've since gotten rid of that in the 1950s and rather used cars instead of public transit. Guys, on your right here, we have the new public library that was built in 2015. Looks like stacking of books. Really great spot. It has the only Braille printer in all of Nova Scotia. And as well, it's a really great spot. They have a garden here on this side, and with the rain gutters, they use that as a part of their plumbing system. Saves them about $50,000 a year. And guys, on your left, we have the old public library that was built here in the 1950s. As well, guys, you're probably wondering, why isn't that being torn down? Because it's not being used anymore. It can't, because it's under mass graves. That is where the poorhouse used to sit, and there's over 800 bodies left dug from the where the library is up towards this old cemetery. So a cool fact with the cemetery, guys, one of the oldest ones in North America here, and it was the first grave was dug about 2 days after Halifax was settled here in 1749. And a cool fact about that is that we have a famous general buried there, General Robert Ross, who was a very famous British general during the Laponian Wars, and as well, he decided, he sailed to North America and was in charge of the Atlantic Fleet during the War of 1812, and it was his bright idea to try to burn down the White House. You can't, it's all made of stone, it's impossible. He died 2 weeks later during the Battle of Baltimore. His last dying wish was to be buried in British soil. Best they can do is Halifax. So they preserved his body. They preserved his body in a barrel of Jamaican rum. So they buried him, and they had all this rum left over. So they decided to drink all the rum. So you can say this is the first full-bodied rum here in Halifax. Tough crowd, okay. So guys, can anyone tell me what the official food of Halifax is? Did you have one today? Have you ever had one? No. So the official food of Halifax is the donair. Really great, but again, I recently found out that I'm allergic to gluten, or I'm allergic to wheat and barley, like the captain here, that we can't have donairs anymore because it's full of all that goodness. And a really great Halifax meal. Highly recommend going if you do have time. If you need any recommendations, I can definitely help you. As well, Halifax, the donair is basically spicy lamb meat with donair sweet sauce wrapped in a pita with toppings of tomatoes and onions. It is very delicious. As well, a really great spot, guys. We're coming up here to downtown. We have the Wright building here. Really special building here. George Wright was a very good businessman, a very good millionaire, and a charitable man. Unfortunately, he died during the sinking of the Titanic. And he was, he died during the sinking of the Titanic, and he unfortunately died during that. And he left all of his land and all of his money to charitable donations. And he opened the last, he opened the first YMCA here in Halifax, and even 110 years after his death, his legacy still stands here in Halifax. Coming up here, guys, as well, George Wright owned this building here that's currently housed by Julep. Really great spot, really great cocktail bar, and it's a really good restaurant as well. Highly recommend if you have time. I do recommend going. Guys, we're at the church. I feel like you guys are all my friends, right? Right? Yeah. You ready? High five it. There we go. So, guys, we have the Protestant church here, like again, opened in 1750, and we have Grand Parade Square. Really great spot, especially during Canada Day. You can go there as well. And back in 1750s, when this first settled here in Halifax, this is where all the horses, cows, and stuff would eat all of the grass. But now a lot of protests happen here. Canada Day celebrations, Remembrance Day celebrations, the lighting of the Christmas tree, New Year's Eve, all of that fun stuff here. We have lovely City Hall here. City Hall here was built in 1885 for about $100,000, which is a lot of money back then, even for a city of Halifax. because it was a really low populated area, probably population of about 15,000. For a city hall building like this, that's a lot of money. So a cool fact, the basement used to sit where the jail cell sat, and Houdini, illusionist Houdini used to go here all the time, and he had a couple of shows here, and got a little tipsy at the end of his shows, and the mayor threw him in jail. A couple of hours later, the Houdini showed up at his doorstep and said, "Hey, I left my shoes at the jail cell, could I grab them?" The mayor said, "No, get out of here before I arrest you again," and Houdini never came back. So you guys, we're coming up to Scotia Square. This was built in 1967, around the last time the Leafs won the Stanley Cup. That's the last Leafs jokes I will make. I am so sorry. And this all used to be residential homes, which is really cool. And about 5 blocks of homes were all torn down for Scotia Square. So guys, I'm going to talk to you guys about the VE riots. So at the end of the Second World War, there was victory in Europe, and a lot of men were stationed here in Halifax because this was the first line, this is the last place they would go before going to fight that war in Europe. And the city of Halifax, the city officials did not want a riot, or they did not want a ruckus. And ruckus, I feel like I'm sounding like my father every day. I got my Tilly hat on, I'm saying ruckus. Okay, so they did not want a ruckus happening in Halifax, so for 2 days they decided to close all restaurants, all bars and pubs, all theaters, everything that was commercial. They decided to close down for 2 days because they didn't want to cause a panic and didn't want to cause a huge celebration. But the generals did not know about this, so they decided to let all the soldiers who were stationed outside Halifax to come to Halifax for the party. They let about 9,000 soldiers here, and ruckus happened, chaos happened, and there was a famous VE riots. They broke everything. There was about $1 million worth of damage. 2 people died of alcohol poisoning, and 1 person died of a suspected murder. And it's a very crucial part of history of VE riots because not a lot of people know about it. It's not well known in our history. And guys, I'm going to get off the mic here for about 30 seconds while the captain here radios Halifax traffic to let us know that we're going in the harbor. But I want to let you guys know, I would suggest holding on because it is going to get a little bumpy when we get inside the water, inside the harbor. Just hold on.